You are currently the only person in this conference.
Morning. How are you today?
Yeah, all good.
Yeah. I hope you didn't have any problems logging into the meeting.
No issues at all. Directly, this morning has supported me with the link and all this login code, so directly I can access that.
Okay. Yeah, we just wanted the students to quickly add themselves to the link. So
Sure.
again, I think it's a very Indian thing, when you mention 11 o'clock, then 11:05 is when we are starting. So that's one
Sure.
thing and I'm very sure like a lot of people have these power cuts and all those issues, network issues also.
Okay.
It happens coming in again and again. But anyways, we are hoping to have a very good session today.
Sure.
Yeah. Then we can start on time. I think probably another 2-3 minutes. And Vani ma'am, I think we can get another 2-3 minutes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I informed in all the batches, sir. They will be joining
Yeah.
in like 2 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Wonderful. Okay. Thank you.
Vani, hello.
Sir, good morning, sir.
Very good morning. You can. Any issue?
No, sir, just waiting for the students to log in, sir. Shall we start, sir?
Mr. Prakash is
I
there.
think
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He's there, sir. He logged
Yeah,
in.
Mr. Prakash.
Yeah, very good morning, sir.
Very good morning, Prakash. How are you?
Yeah, all good, sir.
Uh-huh. Has Mr. Reddy recovered? Is he back to office?
He is in, can say like 90% recovered, sir. It will take another couple of weeks for him to resume to office.
Okay.
So still he is under rest only, actually.
Please convey my wishes for him to recover, and then I'm not even in a position to speak to him except in the beginning of this webinar.
Okay.
After that, I have not even spoken to him.
Okay, fine, sir. Sure, we'll connect him, sir.
Maybe once he resumes his office, I'll speak to him leisurely.
Sure. No problem.
I think there are about 50 plus students and faculties. You should carry on with your presentation, Mr. Prakash.
Okay,
Please
fine.
carry on. Please carry on. Please.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Very good morning to all of students.
So one second, I'll just give a brief introduction, sir.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. Happy morning, everyone. I welcome you all to today's webinar, Structural Engineering. Design Tree Service Consultant Private Limited has collaborated with us and have put together an amazing series of webinars on various topics related to building service and structure. Design Tree Service
190, yeah.
is multi-purpose. Sorry, sir.
Sorry. No issue. Please carry on.
Is a multidisciplinary engineering consultancy company founded in March 2008 by a dynamic and innovative professional to bridge the gap between ever-changing needs of construction industry. They are one of the largest service providers in Southeast Asia, a consultancy with branches in Bengaluru, Hyderabad, Vijayawada, Chennai, and Kolkata, with a cumulative staff strength of 300 plus. Design Tree provides a professional and technical skill to plan, design, and supervise the construction of wide range of service from conception to the delivery, such as in civil and structural engineering, public health engineering, fire and life safety system, electrical engineering, HVAC, and IBMS engineering. To begin with, it gives an immense pleasure to introduce our guest for today's webinar. We are honored this morning by presence of Mr. Prakash, who is the Principal Team Lead, Design Management at Design Tree Service Consultant. After graduating Bachelor of Engineering from Civil Department from MS University, his diversified work experience in different organizations as design manager in Potential Service Consultant Private Limited. He is one of the key person at Design Service Consultant. He expertise in providing engineering design solution for all types of projects like multi-storied residential, commercial, IT, malls, schools, industry, and hospital, etc. He has expertise in delivering and supporting projects within timeline, controlling quality and cost from start to delivery of the project, with 17 years of experience in construction industry. We are very pleased to have you here with us, sir, Mr. Prakash, today. On behalf of Megan's Ooty School of Architecture, I welcome you, sir. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Vani, for giving a brief about our organization and myself. So let us go into the presentation. So what topic we are dealing with today with the structural engineering. And I think everyone can see the PPT.
Yes, sir. It is visible, sir.
So this company profile anyway explain much better. So let me go into this structural engineering. See, before entering into the structural engineering, though you are all architecture, so I would like to just give a brief on what industry moving towards this present century and where we are structural engineers, where we are leading to, and what are the requirements of market. There's a present, what is a people's requirement, and how builders and promoters or any developers who is coming with some kind of a requirement. So where all these are leading to, just I'll give you a little brief on those things, and then we'll go into the technical part of structural thing, which is more related to your architectural field. So first major thing is urbanization, that I think everybody is aware nowadays. The urbanization is the biggest and major challenge in the all over world, where people are migrating towards more urban nature and they want all lifestyle high class living and all those kind of things. So what is urbanization and how it's impacting our structural and architectural? Let me start with those things. So in urbanization, what we are speaking about now, you can see United Nations report says half of the world's population lives in urban areas by 2008, and it is predicted that 2050 about 64% of the developing world will be urbanized. So it means that there are more pressure coming into the urban cities. So to develop, more of buildings, and you need to utilize the efficiency of available land. So this is equivalent to 3 billion urbanites by 2050. That is what they're projecting, and much of which will occur in Africa and Asia. So nearly global population growth from 2017 to 30 will absorbed by cities. That is 1.1 billion new urbanites over next 13 years. That's what we are looking into the next future. So this is just a glimpse on how urbanization is moving forward. If you see the end of this is taken the status from 2015 to 2050. So Latin America, you can see that is more than 24% urbanization will get increased, and North America 21%. So maximum will be African countries will going to be a 108% of increase in urbanization, and Asian country there will be 20% jump, and Europe there will be negative of -4%, and Oceania, other Australias and everything, they are going to be a 46% increase in the urbanization. So this is the projection what we are looking at for the 2050. And when you're coming to Indian urbanization scenario, you can see this Delhi is going to be the second world most populated city by 2050, and Mumbai is going to be the fifth world most populated city by 2050. I mean 2050. It's projected for 2050, and 1.7 billion inhabitants are expected to move towards urbanization. And you can see this 27 million inhabitants will be there by 2030, and there will be 36 million inhabitants by in Delhi by 2030. So this figure shows exactly how Indian cities are moving towards urbanization. So majority of people were pouring into the cities to have a luxurious lifestyle or whatever their basic requirement to get satisfied. So we are in a situation like where the cities to get developed for the maximum limit, whatever the population right now and going to be the future. So in this, just we are taking a typical example of current situation in Bangalore where we are living. You can see in 1973 there was 1.6 million population, and you can see that red is a built-up area, built up in the sense of structures what is built in the city, and blue is the water, and green is the vegetation, and the remaining are all other open lands. So you can see in 1973 it was 1.6 million. That red what you are seeing built-up area is very minimal. And 1992 how it's grown, 99, 2003, 2008, 2010 it was 8.5 million population, 2016 12.3, and 2020 last year it was 13.6 million population. And you can see it's completely filled up with the buildings, and there is a very feeble vegetations and water bodies are available left out in the Bangalore. So this is one of situation here just taken as a case study here right now in Bangalore. Similarly, we can see for any cities, this is the same scenario what we are seeing right now. And this is just Google images of a few of locations in Bangalore. You can see how Outer Ring Road in 2002, ORR what we written 2002 and 2012, how the transformation happened. Entire wetlands and water bodies are converted into buildings and is completely occupied. And all the structure you're seeing below in 2012, it was like high-rise structures, minimum of 10 floors, 12 floors. And you can see Marathali, that is next to the Outer Ring Road, Marathali, you can see this 2012 to 2012, how much the transformations happened. So this is the pressure what we are seeing right now in any of the cities. And urbanization in Bangalore has caused almost some 466% increase in built-up area of Bangalore from 73 to 2000. And as per data, over 5,000 acres of Bangalore was under development in the periphery designed to be a car dependent, relying on diesel fuel. When you are not able to cater the requirement within the city, there will be a more possibility of development all along the city, I mean all across the city. And it will be like more of people traveling from there with the vehicles. They're using either private vehicles or public transport. So this will add, I mean, it will add more of pressure to the government to give more fuel and more requirement for the peripheral cities, or peripheral of the cities, which is little cumbersome in urban development. So it is more focused to develop within the city rather than increasing the extent of the peripheral. Or you need to give a proper infrastructure to the peripheral cities with their own requirement. I mean, it's like a self-sustained cities. You need to give their own infrastructure of road, metro, your airport, or railways, or network, everything, so that people will not much depend to the central core. So this is the way how the city can be, but with our financial management in Indian government, where we cannot too much expect on the infrastructure development for all around the city. So we are more focused to develop within the city area. So that is what pressure we are getting right now. And apart from this, there are everybody is aware of this Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin. This is government is giving some kind of a stipend to people to get their own home. So there is a target of achieving almost some 48 lakh houses. 2.95 crore houses to be built by 2022. But whereas right now they achieve only 48 or 50 lakh houses, still there are almost some 5 to 6 times of the houses to be allotted to the public. In the sense, they are giving a scheme where they're giving a very less interest rate and with a good tenure of loans, so that people more prefer to buy their own home rather than going for rental or to live in low-lying areas. So this is also adding a pressure to people to move towards the urban areas where they're getting the affordable housing within the central city core only. So these are things what impacting our urbanization. In the sense, adding to our urbanization. And when you speak about more development within the urban areas, so what we are facing is, first thing, we'll be going more with the vertical cities. That is, we are going for a high-rise structures, more and more high-rise structures, which is called as a vertical cities. And this will have a little decongestion in the urban sprawl. So having more vertical, you give lesser of carpet areas, lesser of floor areas, and you give more of openness for the city, so that people can, can public and interact each other. So these kind of things, do means you need to go cities to go more vertical. So this issue can address the cost of land also. You have 1 acre, you develop 20 floors, 30 floors, make a sustainable building so that people will not spread out in the outside of your campus. So this is the development we'll go for a vertical. So this address for the cost of land also, and high rise in the optimal solution of sustainable urban development. So this will also help you for urban development. So in 2020, earlier we used to see 1 or 2 high rise. Now you can see in urban cities there are more high rise rather than the smaller size building. And then what are the structural design to cater urban requirement? We are still going into our structural design right now. So when we speak about more high-rise building, so then the situation comes like, in the sense, like the challenges what we face with the structural consultancy, what a structural design you can say. So first thing is, to go for more high-rise building, you need to go for a higher grade of concretes. So now, earlier we used to see like M15, M20, that ages are gone now. Now we are going up to M90 grade of concrete, where we are building up to some 40 floors, 50 floors. This is becoming more common. Earlier, it used to be seen in Gulf countries or in Arabian, in US or somewhere. But now in India, we are very normally started using M80, M90 grade of concrete for all high-rise structures coming up in Hyderabad or Mumbai or Chennai, anywhere. So more technologies are coming in to bring in more higher grades of concrete, which is easily achievable nowadays. That kind of technologies are available, admixtures are available, concrete grades are available with us. So, and even your normal RMC suppliers are equipped with that kind of higher grade supply concrete. So that's all good things what we are doing, getting it for the ease out of the highest, tall towers. And highest strength steel, earlier it was Fe4 and 5, you can see everywhere. At earlier stage, we used to see that Fe4 and 5 grade. Then it become Fe500. Now they become Fe550. Then they are adding a D. D means ductile detailing. So this also keep on your technology wise, with people getting upgraded to the more higher strength steel also. And selection of material, that is more related to the sustainability. When you go for high-rise building, building lifespan is getting more increased, because people, when you spend for huge cost of construction, they expect minimum of 50 years of lifespan. And as per code, it is 50 years, but even though building may withstand up to 100 years also. So for that, you have to go for a very robust material for selection for your facade or for internal block works or plastering or anything you say, structural material should be very robust. And facade is a major thing. That's your glazings or your Fundermax or your any kind of treatment material what is coming now should be having a good life, because building a 40 floors, you cannot go up and clean or maintain or something frequently or replacing. So it should stay, and it should be like a self-maintained materials. And there are expertise required. Now, being more high-rise coming into the cities, there are very few consultants who is handling that kind of high-rise structures. Like we Design Tree, we are doing it for almost some, you can say, like 13 years now. So there should be a more expertise consultant should come into the market who is well versed with this kind of high-rise development with respect to structure or MEP or even architecture also, to give some design which is more economical and which is to be user-friendly at the same time, which is good for the promoters or builders. So now easily we can say we are going up to height of 150 meters, and even somewhere we are going for 200 meters high building also in South India. That is a very, it's kind of a technology driven now. And then coming to the structure, first thing, when you go for high rise, first thing what we speak about is the foundation. So foundation for any structure, it is first designed based on the SBC. SBC is nothing but the soil bearing capacity. That is, we can take that results by doing some borehole at the construction site. Before starting of the project, we will try some 20 meter or 30 meter borewells, and we'll identify how the strata below, whether it is a loose earth or it is a hard soil or some muram. We'll get a complete bore log reports and everything. Based on that, we'll come to the foundation design. For any high-rise structure, if you go, maximum you'll get raft only. See, I'm not going into the regular construction which you see in neighborhood, because those are all like every day we are seeing, and anytime you can go and walk down and you can see in your neighborhood also. I'm not going to that kind of small foundation or small design what you're doing for a normal residential of ground plus 3. We are just only discussing about the urban development, and I'm going to explain more about the structural system what we are using for a massive construction. So to go for, when you speak about high rise, that is a minimum of 10 floors or anything above. Now general common practice, everybody is going for 20 floor and above. So if we speak about 10 floor also, there will be a raft foundation, which is called like a entire mass. Your entire building footprint will be concreted in the foundation. That is the two option is there. Either you can go for raft or you can go for pile foundation. Like Chennai kind of condition where you have coastal areas, we have a high coastal soil, which will be having high settlement value. We'll go for a pile foundation, which you can see in the right side of the screen. Where in Bangalore, or you can say in like hilly areas, where we get some good rock or good hard strata below, we'll go for the raft foundation. And otherwise, you can see in the left side, we'll go for a combination of both. We'll do pile at the bottom, and the pile tops will be connected with the raft foundation, and then we'll go for the structure. So majority of high-rise structure, if you go for 40 floors, 50 floors, this option may work in the coastal areas. We'll go for pile foundation, then raft, then structure will start. So this is the foundation generally we are giving for all kind of buildings right now. And these are the few high-rise structure. Just left side, what you're seeing is Mantri Pinnacle. This is one of the tallest in South Asia, done by Design Tree in Bangalore here. It is completed and it's occupied also. And right side, what you're seeing is this AP Secretariat, in the sense Andhra Pradesh Secretariat building. This is almost some 55 floors. It is under construction now. They are in some first floor or second floor. This is a diagrid building. I will explain you in little further on how the systems are made. And the key design consideration for any structural design, first is the loading. You can see these are the loadings what we used to consider for a structural building. If it's an office building, our loading will be 400 kg per square meter. That is a consideration we used for a structural design. Hello?
You can continue, sir.
Yeah. So office area will go for 400 kg per square meter. Residential will go for 250 kg per square meter. And this staircase and lift lobby is what you say. Those are all like common. We'll design for 400 kg. Corridors, balcony 400. Public lobby, storage room. Storage room is like areas like where you have maximum your storage is kept in some commercial buildings or in residential area. Will consist of 150 kg. AHU, air handling units, that will be done for HVAC people for air conditioning the space. They will have on dedicated AHU rooms in every office floor. I think my colleagues would have explained to you about that. So that will consist of 150 kg. Retail shops, that is where we have some mall kind of thing. Retail shops will go for 600. Terrace with access. All terrace of any commercial or residential building has been considered as a fire escape path. So generally we go for little higher loading of 400 kg. Similarly, electrical room, battery room, you can see all this loading. These are all as per the IS codes. We have IS 1893, which clearly indicates what loading to be considered for these kind of areas. So these are all extracted from there only. This is a default for any consultants to start with the design. So you can see data centers will go for 1000 kg. There are multiple data centers now happening in all over India. And those data centers are for your backups like Google, SIFI, so many people are doing data centers. And those kind of loadings are much higher, 1000 kg, because there are a lot of servers and units will be kept inside. And ramps will design for 500 kg. Car parking area, there's a puzzle parking or stack parking, they say, will go for 500 kg. If it's no puzzle parking, we'll go for 250 kg, half of this loading. And cafeterias and all will go for 400 kg, kitchen 500. And fire tender movement, that's around the podium. And outside your tower area where the extended driveways are kept, there we'll do 1500 kg considering the fire truck vehicle movement. Okay, so these are the loadings to be considered in the building. So apart from your loading which occupies the building, there are other loadings out there which is due to the nature. That is, one is wind load. When you go more high rise, the wind load plays a major role in your building. So every area, I mean every part of Indian area, there is a wind load already designed long back, and they are kept in the code. So you can see right side the two maps what I kept. In this first map is the wind map, and second is the seismic map. So wind load, just I kept for example, Bangalore we consider 33 meters per second, and Hyderabad it is 44, and in Chennai every city has a wind load which is given in the IS code. So this is a major factor for wind design. And second is seismic zone. As you are aware that any structure to be built, the seismic plays a major role, because first chance of a structure to get collapses because of the seismic condition only. So seismic also varies. For Chennai we consider zone 3, which is little higher seismic zone, and Bangalore is zone 2, very less seismic zone, and Delhi will be zone 4, something like that. Every area has their own seismic parameters. Right side you can see that blue and yellow, all these colors what you're seeing is all seismic zones. And apart from that, reinforcement steel we are considering 500. Now we are going for 550 also. That is based on the client's requirement. If client say that I can procure 550, yes, we'll design for 550. If they say 500 only available in market, means we'll go for 500. That's based on the clients. And structural steel will go for 250 Newton per square meter. And these are the structural design options which is generally accommodated in all the industries all around India. I would like to say these are the more frequently used. Apart from that, there are a few other systems are there. Very rarely we used to see, but these are the most frequently used system. First, for coming with the residential, you can say this beam slab system. Beam slab is nothing but you will see in any of the buildings happening in your neighborhood. It will be all beam slab system. There will be beam will be there, and top we will have a slab. Then we'll have a RC wall system. This will every system I'll explain in brief on next slide. I'll just run through this. So it's a RC wall system, which we call as like a aluminum formwork. Will do entire building will be like RC structure, and then we have a precast. These three options are mostly used in the residential sector. And when it comes to commercial IT building or office space or mall, hospital, anything, we'll go for this kind of slab system. One is a flat slab with or without post tension, and waffle slab with or without post tension, and wired slab, and there is a hollow core slab, and steel composite. I'll just give a brief on all these slab system individually. So this is a beam slab system. The beam slab system is nothing but every buildings by conventionally what we're using all these days. So this slab and beams are casted after columns and shear walls, and cycle time achieved. Cycle time means one slab to cast and to de-shutter and go for the next slab. This is called cycle time of construction. Beam and slab will get for 15 days and require less inventory, because this materials are available like plywoods and board, very easily available in the local market also. You can just buy and cut and make the shape, and you can build the structure. And higher material handling, because there are a lot of piece material. There is no like molded or formula structure. It's just like a piece of materials you are aligning and you're making a shuttering. And this is ideal for residential for a span of 3 to 6 meters, and wet work sequence of work high, conventional system and rigid system compared to flat plate, economical for residential towers, small opening where record can be provided. This is more convenient and mostly used in the many of the residential construction up to some certain heights. And then right side you can see beam slab, same beam slab system. People prefer to use with the lightweight blocks like AAC blocks. You can say these are the concrete blocks which will have density 1/10 of the conventional block what you're seeing in market. See, when you make loading lighter, your building will be more efficient. You can build more number of floors. So the lighter is better. Ask any structural engineer. That's what we tell. Lighter means you make all the materials lighter inside. Let my structural loading can accommodate still further more loading, or I can build additional floor. Instead of 10 floors, if I use lightweight block, I can build another 2 floors or 3 floors extra with the same concrete and reinforcement what I designed below floors. So that is the reason now many people have started using this AAC blocks. And right side you can say this is called Poratham. Wienerberger designing this one. This is a Poratham block. This is a regular clay block, but it will be properly manufactured in a factory. Here in Kunigal we have a factory near Bangalore. So these blocks are very lightweight. At the same time, by using this, there is a little cost differences there, because the conventional block to this block, there will be some 20-30% cost increase will be there. But we will be saving almost some huge amount in the structure, because these lightweights will reduce the loading on the structure. So we go for lightweight blocks. And this is about the beam slab system. And next you can say this aluminum formwork. This is all urban cities who are going for a massive development like 5 tower, 6 tower, each tower having a 20 floors, 30 floors, they go for this kind of aluminum formwork. This is like entire building is built with RCC. There is no wet work inside any building. So once you done one floor, the floor is completely ready. Next, you directly start painting and doing the finishing works. There is no requirement of block work and doing scaffolding from bottom to top of 20 floors. All those things are not required. I'll show you a small animation in the next slide, but just I'm giving a brief on this. This is a very faster way to construct a building. When you build 20 floors and if you're not able to complete within a target timeline, you will not able to get your customers. So people will build faster so that the revenues and what they're going to generate with the project and thing, they prefer to go for this kind of promise. So cycle time achieved is 7 to 10 days, whereas the beam slab you saw it was 15 days. Here in 7 days, they can de-shutter the one level and they can start doing the above level, so that there is no wait time, and 20 floors they will achieve within a span of 6 months. So that is the way they are progressing with this aluminum formwork. And it eliminates, second point you can see, it eliminates plastering, block work, thereby reducing the wet works after the structure is complete, and also reduces time on tower crane. See, once you do a conventional building, you first build the RCC, then you come and build the block work, then you do plastering. So for that, you need to build a scaffolding all around, and you need to have a tower crane, multiple tower cranes to lift the material, keep going up and up. All this thing will be avoided with this kind of aluminum formwork, because entire mold of your building will be kept in a one shot. You're keeping the shuttering, pouring the concrete, just de-shuttering, and then again you're lifting the entire shuttering material to the next floor, so that you're once that lifted, your below level building is completely ready. Directly you can go just start applying the putty or paint, whatever you want, and you can hand over the flat. You can start the flooring and other finishing work. So this is the speed we can achieve with this kind of aluminum formwork. And site is maintained clean and tidy. That is another advantage. There will not be like multiple materials spreading across the site and they look very dirty. This will be very neat because the formwork will be shifted completely, and more seismic resistant because all walls are concrete. So you have a better seismic resistant in this kind of structures, and increased durability, as I say, and less number of joints, therefore reducing the leakage. And so being a RC structure all around, there is no issue of block work and concrete to bond, and you will see cracks in all the constructed houses. You can say like G+3 or ground floor, whatever you constructed, you can see plenty of cracks happening between the vertical line, between the column and block work, because there are two different concrete, two different cement bonded at the two different timings. So definitely it will segregate and will get cracked. These kind of structure will not get cracked because the entire thing is in a one single concrete. So no issues at all in cracks and those things. And higher carpet area, and advantage is block work is minimum of 150 or 200 mm we need to build. But if you do RC wall, we can do in 140 mm. And with the 140 mm, there is no plastering also. So added to that, you're getting more carpet area inside the flat. So your wall thickness are much reduced. Directly you're going to apply putty on the wall. And we are going 100 mm wall thickness also for toilets. So plastering, generally people will prone to do some 12 mm on either side. If you say 20, 40 mm will increase. Here there is nothing is there, just 140 mm wall or 100 mm wall. We'll leave it like that and we'll paint it on top. So you're getting higher carpet area. So this is a aluminum formwork building. You can see in any of the metro cities nowadays, these are the very quickest and easiest way of construction. Right side bottom, you can see these are the scaffolding props. This will be easy to remove and easy to align also. Building and all those things very easy, and construction speed will be much faster. You can see now in 2 months, 3 months, you can see building rising up on 5 floors, 10 floors in that way. And this is a small video on how that, I don't know how to make it. Ms. Vani, I'm not able to see the play button here.
So you can, if possible, you can share the link of the video in the public chat and we'll play the video from here.
No, this is not link actually. It is pasted on the PPT.
Sir, I will paste it, sir. Actually, it converted into PDF, sir. One second.
Okay, fine. Okay.
Sorry, sir. In PPT also it is blank only, sir.
It's okay, no problem. Just you can later I will share the video separately. You can.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah. So there you will see animation how that construction will be happening, like stage by stage. That entire animation was there. You can. I will share the video separately. And next we are coming to precast construction. So this is also one of the technology which is coming in from Malaysia and Singapore, those kind of country. Here there are two types of precast structure. Is there one is load bearing precast structure, and another is non-load bearing. Load bearing is nothing but they will be similar to a block work and construction. What we do, we'll first build the wall, keep the slab on top, and again the same position you keep the wall, and you'll be keep raising up and up. This is called load bearing. And non-load bearing walls are like column frame structures. We'll do columns, and the columns and beam will be supported with the precast, and again the slab will be rested on the precast. So in precast construction, we can have a good quality control because all the slab, concrete, and everything is getting molded in the factory, and then it will be just bringing it to site, and you're going to install it directly. So there is no chance of alignment issue or concrete overflowing, spillage. Nothing will be there. It will be very clean quality and superior strength and durability. In my one, in residential construction, this is having a very good strength and availability and ease of installation. Now you know in Krishnagiri there is a factories are there, very good precast factory, almost in 100 acres they set up, and they're supplying for all over South India now. So availability is there, and reduce of weather dependency. Basically because you are not going to stand on rain or weather to pour concrete because it's all molded at factory. We're just only going to install with the tower crane and lorry truckers, whatever they're bringing there. And it's environmental friendly and aesthetically pleasing. Because the finishing is so good and it's molded at the factory, you will see a very good aesthetic on this one. So there are two types, load bearing and non-load bearing. We'll just go through that. And this is a flat slab system, what we use for commercial buildings. Apart from the residential, now we are coming into commercial system. Commercial, this flat slab is very popularly used in all of the commercial building when you're having a span of more than 6 meter, 8 meter like that. Because this system will work minimum of 8 meter and above. 6 meter also we can do, but it looks very close to each other. Columns should be little away from each other so that we can go for the system. And here you will see, as you can see in the images, there will be a clean soffit slab and we'll have a drop panel, and below the drop panel we'll be having a column. So the system, how it acts is all this loading coming into the slab will be transferred to this drop panel, and the drop panel load will be transferred to the column. So this is the way this flat slab works generally. And in flat slab, to get better efficiency, we use post-tension cables that are all to give optimized cost and fast and speeding up the construction. Because for doing a flat slab for a 8 meter, 10 meter span, we are having a huge slab thickness of 250 or 300 mm. And in that, we'll be having a massive reinforcement, bottom layer, top layer, 3 layers of reinforcement, which will consume more time to build. So in that, we'll go for PT, means nothing but a post-tension cables will be kept on the slab. And there will be reinforced, because we are keeping the cables. You guys can see all the public work what is happening in metro or monorails or everywhere. You can see that cables will be pulled on the both side, and they'll be keeping a precast slab. So similarly, there will be cables kept in the slab, and they'll be giving a post tension. It means that after concreting, they will stress the cables and they will lock it. So you can see bottom, this is the stressing end. It will be kept in the slab edge, and these are the cables which will be stressed from inside, and it will be kept in the lock. Like an anchor, dead anchor will be there. They will be putting and they will be closing it. So this entire cable will be grouted. You can see this is the slab, how the cables will be kept. So by doing this, first thing is we are optimizing the cost. There will be, you can say like conventional construction will going to cost you around some 460 rupees, means this will be saving around some 40 rupees per square feet, first thing. And second thing, conventional construction is going for a 7-day cycle, means with this you can achieve 5-day cycle also. So that kind of speed you can achieve because your post tension, once you're stressed, the stressing will happen in 3rd day or 4th day. Once stressing is done, immediately you can start de-shuttering from below because your concrete is already in hold and already in place. Only to avoid wetness, we'll do little backpropping. Otherwise, you can deep on it. I mean, you can de-shutter it faster. So this is a thing you can see this by using quick drop system. De-shuttering can be completed with 7 days, and this can be used only up to 10 point, and maximum limit for using a flat slab is 10.8 meter span. You can say like up to 11 meter you can go. Beyond that, you need to go, means you need to go for a post tension only. And cycle time achieved will be 12 days, and by using and less inventory. And use of table forms enable faster construction. Table form is nothing but the ready-made forms, which like my one, what is seeing in residential, what is the aluminum formwork you are seeing in residential. Similarly, there are formwork available in commercial also, which will be like ready-made based on your building design. They will give you a formwork which will come and kept on place, and they'll be easy to remove and they move to the next floor. It's like a modular formwork they'll use. So when you use that kind of thing, flat slab will be still much faster. And PT slab, you can see PT slab recommended for larger span, and slab thickness can be reduced by 40 mm. You are optimizing the cost, and for higher spans more than 10 meter. So when you say when normal flat slab will go up to 10 meter only, when you go beyond 10 meter, you can go for PT flat slab. And technology, application, execution, design still have to spread exposure, because people tend to say that we don't want PT, that cables will cut, means my slab structure will fail. That kind of things are not there, because these are all grouted. Once the stressing are done, there is a grouted, so there is no safety or there is no issues on using the PT. So that mindset should go from people. And de-shuttering 3 days after grouting is recommended. And cutouts cannot be provided for larger opening in PT slab. Now even we have started doing this also in PT slab. We are opening a huge cutouts when client come and ask saying that I'm converting my building to a mall. I need to open a huge cutout in the PT slab. Yes, we can do that also. We have started doing that. We are giving some little strengthening all around the opening areas, and we are opening the slab also. That is possible. So there is nothing like not possible. It's possible. And strands of strength, square feet is used for pre-stressing. These are all load what we use to achieve the stressing ends. And PT bonded, unbonded, these are all technical terms of the PT. This bonded means we'll do grouting and we'll make it like a bonded system. Unbonded means will not be grouted. That will more chance of slab getting failed. So unbonded is not used nowadays. All our PT bonded only we're using right now. And then comes to waffle slab system. Waffle slab, you could have seen in some malls and everywhere where we'll go for a waffle mold. That's like you can see in the top images. There are small cavities will be there inside. It is similar to flat slab, but only thing is depth of the slab will be 500 mm or something minimum. And this can take maximum deflection. When you go 10 meter span of columns, you will have a lot of deflection in the slab. After concreting, de-shuttering, and after 5 years, if you see, there will be small sagging in the slab will be there. In the center of the slab, there will be little deflection will be more and little sagging will be there. When you go for waffle slab, those kind of issues will not be there, because your slab thickness itself will become 500 mm. There is a constraint in architectural system, because your slab thickness is more, your floor heights will become less. So these kind of issues are there. So waffle systems also they're using, but not at a macro level. They are using in a very minimum location. And apart from that, wired slab for all this your chowl trees or bigger community halls and everything where they don't want column, they want to have a huge span like 30 meter, 40 meter. They want to do in RCC. Wired slab systems are used. This slab thickness will be almost some 600 mm something. There will be a top concrete. You can see the right side sketch. There will be a top concrete will be there. There will be a bottom concrete, and in between there also there will be some beam kind of concrete will be there. And the entire cavity will be filled with the thermocol or with some lightweight material. They will do as like a sacrificial. It will be kept inside, and top concrete will be poured. So this entire thickness will be around 600, 800, even for bigger span it will be 1 meter also. So without column free, you want to do some bigger conventional areas and all, wired slab system is more suitable. And this is a hollow core slab system. This also nowadays a lot of people start using it. This is like more like a precast system, but it will be used for a commercial building. This with the hollow core, we can go up to a span of 10 meter, 11 meter, similar to a flat slab. These are the ready-made hollow core precast slabs, which will be manufactured in a factory, and it will be mobilized to a site directly. And once these are placed, you can see that open inside. There are some location they will put some PT, what we spoken on flat slab. The same cable will be kept here inside, and they'll be stressing at the both ends, so that this also will give a much better commercial, kind of a fast track construction where you mold it somewhere and you bring it to the site and erect it. So this hollow core slab system also now people have started using it in majority of the IT buildings. And this is a typical hollow core slab, how it look like. You can see here only issue or challenge what we face is whatever the slab you have seen earlier, the precast slab, these are the slabs. This will be kept between the two beams. So issue is this beam, whatever you are seeing here, this beam will be little deeper to take the load of this slab. Because in office floor, we cannot have any beams deeper inside, which will affect the height of the building, because a lot of services will be running in the ceiling and you need to do false ceiling. So many things, requirements will be coming. So in that, if you have this kind of beam, it will be a quite challenge structure. So that is the reason this people who prefers to go for a fast track construction, who is ready to compromise, or who is having a sufficient height, instead of 4 meter height floor to floor, if you go for 4.3, this issue will get resolved. So these kind of challenges are there with the precast also. And you can see these are some images of the hollow core construction. The bottom left, you can see these are the precast beams, which is molded in the factory. They will just bring it. And once the slab, you can see right side, once the column is ready, they'll erect this beam in the between two columns, and there will be, you can see the top. These are the small ledges will be provided in the each column. This column also obviously precast. This column will be manufactured separately for one floor height. They'll come and they'll erect in the one column. On top of it, another column. Then beam will be installed. All these joints will be treated with some nicks and bolts and everything with the grouting completely. And once this column and beams are erected, then they'll bring in this kind of precast slab. This precast slab you can see right side of this side. Precast slab will be erected continuously. Once precast slabs are erected, on top of it, they need to do 100 mm topping concrete, which will bond the entire system. Because there will be a panel to panel, some gaps will be there like 5 mm or 8 mm, whatever maybe. So entire thing to be covered, first thing. And second thing, the precast slab itself cannot take that much of loading. You need to go for additional nominal rebars with the concrete so that the entire mass will become like a one structure. So this, because we are doing a bottom slab and we are doing only a top screen concrete, your time will be saved much better. Otherwise, you do entire formwork, backpropping, de-shuttering, all those things will be totally avoided. Once this is erected, directly do a screen, like a floor screen, what you do in a regular commercial building, you just can do it and close it so that your building will be completely ready. So these are the, you can see these are the precast columns, you can see in top side. And these are the junctions, how they make. You can see where the other side beams are not there, means you need to put some this kind of MS brackets. In this bracket, this precast slab will be resting. And left, you can see one complete erected precast column with the precast beam on the other side. And these are the precast slabs. And here also you can see how cantilevers are made. There is no support in the either side, but still they're extending from the existing column only. They're doing a pin support. So these are the precast construction. And not only column and beams, even your core walls, your retaining wall, all entire structure can be made of precast. So here what they will do is they'll bring it, like you can say like your core walls mean nothing but your lift core walls. They will bring like an entire core wall molded at the factory. They will keep inside some nominal reinforcement, and they'll, once this is installed, they'll pour concrete from the top, and this will become like a one complete structure, like a one clear wall. And these are the ramps. They're doing it in hollow core structure. Entire ramp is a precast. They just bring all these walls and slab, everything. Just put a top mesh and you pour the regular concrete. So this is animation which was I think not. So this is what's the time advantage by doing conventional concrete versus hollow core construction. Conventional concrete 135 days you are reaching some level of slab. Same thing you can achieve in 86 days. So time advantage is almost 60 days when you do for hollow core slab construction. So this is a superstructure we can save. I mean, you know, there is a time saving is there. At the same time, there will be a little cost also difference will be there because precast will be costing little higher than the conventional construction. So it's up to a client to take a call whether they go with the precast or the conventional structure. And the next thing is the structural steel composite structure. This is a more positively people started using, you know, in India. You can see in Mumbai or Delhi or Hyderabad, everybody started using this steel composite structure, which is like a combination of steel and concrete. So this is advantages. This will be like a fast track construction. You can go more faster because all steels are manufactured in a factory similar to precast. This also will be materials will be brought from factory and you're going to install it inside. But only reason is in Indian code, we need to have a more fire resistant building. So definitely we need steel structure should be encased with the concrete. That is a mandatory thing because as per code, minimum 2 hours of fire rating to be provided between the walls. I mean, any structure what you're building. So 2-hour fire rating to achieve, you need to have minimum of 100 or 120 mm concrete thickness all around your structure what you're wrapping. Either it is a precast or it is a block or plastering with the 200 mm plus plastering will give 2 hours fire rating. Similarly, in steel structure, steel alone cannot do. So you need to go for a concrete encasement. So that's how steel structure works. So these are the, you can see that these are steel, this is a diagrade building, what you're saying, this is another kind of steel structure. This is happening right now in the Amaravati building, that the AP Secretariat, what we are doing. This entire frame is a steel structure and inside you have only RCC core. This frame, what you see, this system itself a diagrade. This acts like a structural member for us. So we are framing this, you can see the right side, this is a building actually. The entire peripheral steel, what you're seeing, more like an aesthetical architectural element, as well as is giving me a structural member. So this kind of a outer frame will be built, and inside will be having just a concrete core wall with a steel similar this kind of steel deck slab connection for floor levels. So this entire frame will act like a steel structure completely, but inside whatever you're seeing, that concrete core and everything will be completely molded with the encasement of concrete apart from the steel. So these are the composite steel structure. You can see that the center image gives you a steel member what is kept inside, and you can see all this rebars kept around, and we'll be putting a stirrup and we'll be concreting, so that though it is a steel structure, in aesthetic point of view, you will see like a RC structure only because it's completely covered with the concrete. So first they going to erect quickly the steel, they'll be keep going up. Parallelly, there will be another set of construction will be happening from below, where they'll be keep doing the shuttering and concreting work. So time wise, yes, there are little savings are there, but because India, we are still not equipped with that kind of a technology to adopt steel structure. We are still not able to catch up the time what other countries are achieving. For example, if you say conventional construction is taking 10 months for a 10 floor, this we should supposed to achieve in a span of 6 to 7 months. But because of lack of knowledge, technical knowledge with the laborers and engineers and everybody, now we are not able to achieve that much. It's reaching almost 9 months, maybe 1 or 1.5 months only we are saving right now. At the same time, cost is almost 30% higher than the conventional construction. So that is the reason steel structure, we are still in the exploring stage. We are not going in a full-fledged construction right now, but we are still using randomly here and there. And builders are very keen to explore this option because they're feeling it. This is little, all MNC clients are prefer this one. They are very well aware, because in other countries steel structure is very more prominently used. So they are also trying to explore this kind of things. This is in the research stage, you can say. This is one of the building for what we are doing in Hyderabad. This is a Sarpuriya knowledge city. So here we have done the steel structure. You can see the central core will be RCC, and this peripheral, all these things will be steel structure. First it will be done like this, and then you can see bottommost they started doing the concrete encasing also. So steel structure will be going up. Once steel structure reach certain stage, that encasing of concrete will also be happening from the bottom. So they'll be reaching, and finally it look like architecture only. But construction wise, advantages, they'll be keep going up much faster than what you're doing in a conventional construction. And these are some connection detail. You can see how bolted, and these are all bolting connections. Apart from welding, we need to do bolt for all column junctions. And these are the few images at site what we taken. You can see the steel structure, how it's connected and all. So these are all, you can see in the center image, this is the column encasement. Once steel members are installed, after that we need to encase with the reinforcement, and we need to concrete this also. So this is the shuttering what they're doing after placing of reinforcement. And this is a slab what you can see. This is a deck slab. They're kept a deck, and on top of it nominal reinforcements are kept. Apart from that, going for vertical cities, going more up and up, there is a issue always comes with going for a deeper basement also, because you build more upper floors, you need to give more parking for them. Like Chennai, like you can say Tamil Nadu or Karnataka, they are limited with the FAR. They will not give anything more than 2.5 FAR. Or in Chennai, it still was, they will not go exceed even 2 also. But in Hyderabad, you can see they are giving FAR, unlimited FAR. There is no word as FAR there. You can build any number of floors. You have 1 acre, you can build 20 floors also. But their only condition is you need to give car parking for every 500 square feet. Every 500 square feet, 1 car parking should be given. So you build 20 lakh square feet in 1 acre also, no issues. But 20 lakh divided by 500, that number of car parking should be provided in your campus. So that is the one mandate thing they kept in the norms. Rest all is totally waived off. That's how their government is operating. Even in Mumbai also same condition. Delhi also almost everybody is giving unlimited FAR, and they are allowing builders to utilize the maximum piece of land. So builders first challenge comes is with the parking, how to accommodate the parking. When you go more number of floors above and above, obviously issue comes with the providing the parking for the employees who is going to work on there or who residential who is going to stay on there. So parking, when you speak about parking, still nobody will prefer, because once you build above the ground parkings, there will be a lot of issue like aesthetic, and second thing, you need to build more high floors. If you are building 20 floors and you want to add another 5 floors, still means it will become 25 floors. 25 floors going more high and high, cost of construction will go high. So people always prefer to go more deeper basement. So earlier in 20 years back, doing one basement is a very big challenge in the community. Now there are people very easily they're building 5 basement, and even we are going for 6 basements, 8 basement. That is all become very common, because we're having a technology to go down deeper and deeper, and we can build much bigger basements. Any cities now, if we take, which is in the wider development, they're going for a very deeper basements. So going for a more deeper basement also has its challenges and everything, because government doesn't guide them to restrict the basement width. For example, you have a site of 1 acre. Now people are building the entire 1 acre for basement, and they're going for a 5 basement, each basement considering 4 meter, approximately 20 meters you need to go down, plus foundation depth. 23 meters we are going down deeper in the basement, sir. So 23 meter when you go down, and there is no guidance to restrict the basement extent. Like Chennai, they have guidance. You cannot go anything beyond the tower footprint. But in Hyderabad or in Mumbai, there is no restriction. You can go till the edge of the property. They'll give only 2 meter nominal setback from the boundary wall to your retaining wall. Remaining all will be occupied with the basements. So you're more going towards the neighboring property. Obviously, there will be issue there when you go 20 meter deeper excavation near the neighboring property. There will be an issue of soil collapse. All those things are we are facing now. So sustainable underground urbanization is a more important thing what we need to see now. So we'll go into the detail of this. Is what you can see. There will be a issue of landslide. First, we go deeper basement. You can see building how neighborhoods are there. You will have landslide issue. Second, there will be a water table issue, because any location in that matter, except some dry areas, if you go for deeper excavation, definitely there will be a lot of water will be coming out of the basement, which is the biggest challenge to do the excavation. We need to have multiple pumps, you need to keep dewatering, and water will have its own issue. It will start pushing the soil from the sides. It will start rolling out the neighboring structures. These kind of issues will start. So, and third point is neighboring structures. When you go more closer to the neighboring structure excavation, there will be definitely more issues. And mobilizing excavated materials. When you go deeper again, how to bring the material out in a urban city. So these are the challenges what you're facing in deeper basement excavation. And to overcome these challenges, what are the solutions we are having? We are having a soil nailing and granting system. These are our shoring system, how we protect the sites. And micro piling and shotcreting with anchor and positive strutting, contiguous piling, diaphragm wall, sheet piling. These are the system what we generally using in the market nowadays to protect the boundaries. And apart from that, this system, if you want, I can share the detailed presentation. We have a detailed, if I start this one, it will go for another 1 hour. That much of detailed presentation we have for this kind of shoring system, because every system have its unique requirement. If you go in a very high water condition, you need to go for sheet piling. If you want to go for a high neighborhood condition, you need to go for contiguous piling. And diaphragm, there is another system you can see in the left side. We'll be caving in like a entire sheet pile kind of thing, and then we'll install the entire cage reinforcement, do concreting, and so many varieties of systems are there. These are the system how we can protect the soil and go for a deeper excavation. And another challenge is the dewatering system. Here we have two methods. One is deep well point method, and another is the well point method dewatering. So both are almost like the same way. Like you need to dig lot of borewells all around the site. You can see in the bottom left. You need to dig lot of borewells, and you need to start dewatering the water. So once you dig the borewell, like this entire chain of borewells all around your project, and you start dewatering, automatically the water table in that entire area will be lowered to a certain extent where you want the excavation. But there's a very crucial condition. Once your pump stopped for half an hour or 1 hour, the entire basement again will be filled with water. So during the construction time, or for the entire duration of construction to come out to the ground level, we should be completely dewatering the water till the bone dry condition. So for that, they'll have some 2 running pumps, and they'll have some 2 standby pumps. There will be multiple people will be working all around to reduce our table. This is till the construction time. Once construction is done, retaining walls are built, then there is no issue of it, because your structure having a contact with water, there is no issue. Around the years, 50 years time also, there is not any issue. But during construction, yes, there will be huge issue, because people should go and work inside. And there's another well point system. In well point system, what we'll do, boring well in the center of the project. We'll be digging the borewells inside, and we'll be start dewatering, so that where the localized area we are going to do work, that particular area will be kept in dry condition, and whichever the water coming from the sites will be rerouted to other locations. So these well point systems are all adapted to lower the water table. And then another challenge is when you go for deeper basement, you need to understand what kind of waterproofing available for your building, because this plays major role. Once you go for 5 basement, then you come back and see that there is all retaining walls are leaking, and there is a water gushing inside from the retaining wall, then you'll be having a serious issue. So before construction, you need to go for a different waterproofing, and this also even we have a vast system, and there are vast methodologies. It's a huge technical things you can explain on this one. So in waterproofing, generally 3 things are available. One is membrane type, another is cementitious, another is crystallization. In membrane, there are HDP, EPDM, these are different membranes available. Cementitious, we are having some Kadapa aggregate and acrylic polymer. And crystallization is an integral material where they will mix the chemical within the concrete so that it will act like a protective layer within the concrete itself. It will not allow water to permeate to other, from one side to other side. And then comes after, see, when you speak about urbanization, there are always issues like people wants to enhance their area. For example, you build G+3 floors, people wants to, because they're getting more FAR, they want to build another 2 floor extra. Yes, we can do that also. So for urbanization, we are more doing now retrofitting works where your building will be like 3 floors. We are adding, retrofitting the columns and slab, and we are increasing it to another 2 floor extra we are building on top. So these kind of retrofitting is also we are doing because of the changes in the FSI. Suddenly government is allotting for this area, you can build for another 0.5 FSI, you can increase, means immediately everybody will come for retrofitting. So the buildings are getting increased, another floor will be added, car parking will be added, your basement will be extended. These kind of works also, now we are doing that. And apart from what are the conventional technologies, what we are using, these are the technologies which is in pipeline for the next generation to look at. So these are like half of technologies are like already tested, and half is under testing, half is still in the books. So we'll just go through one by one. One is the self-healing concrete. This is a more expected technology in the market now. This is a situation like where you mix this kind of sodium silicate, or there's a bacterial growth will be embedded within the concrete. Your concrete lifespan will be like going for next 100 years without any issue. Whenever a crack appears, that sodium silicate itself will react and it will fill the gap, it will close and it will make like a regular concrete. For example, there are kilometers of roads are done in the concrete roads in our India. If you give this kind of system, you no need to do reworking of roads. You just lay the roads once for all and leave it. Whenever the crack happens, whenever settlement crack happens, it recovers itself and will come back. So this technology is in under pipeline. Some areas already they started testing also. We are expecting this in the future. And next is permeable concrete. Permeable concrete already we have seen in some YouTube video and all. These are like, it will allow water to percolate through your concrete, so that for roads and everything we started using this kind of concrete now. It will allow your rainwater to see what happens. Generally we are covering the entire city with the concrete and things, so there is no chance of rainwater entering into your mother earth. So these kind of concrete roads and everything will allow the water to percolate through the concrete and will reach the surface below. At the same time, it will hold sufficient strength. It will not settle because of the water contact. And third thing, 3D printed house. This is a most awaited technology for all group housing, villas and everything. Already Gulf countries started using this technology. Entire your building 3D model will be kept in a program, and this will be this 3D printing technology started. I mean, they will keep this crane and everything, and they'll start feeding the concrete. So it will start rolling around the entire housing and it will start building. But right now they are saying that minimum of 200 houses, 200 villas or something is required to start this technology, because the investment cost is too high to bring this printer and everything. So this also in pipeline. We'll see how best it coming to market. And apart from this, there are smart roads are there. There are solar roads where they're putting entire road with the solar panels, so that they're getting the power generated through roads. And there's electrical lanes are coming in, dedicated electric lane where your vehicle will be getting charged on while running on the particular roads. And weather and traffic detection. Now there is a cloud storage they're bringing in. All weather, traffic, everything is getting into the cloud storage, and based on that, your data will be given to the individual vehicles and everything. You will understand that next 5 kilometers we are going to get a severe rain or something. You will understand from here, so you can take a diversion on the road. So these kind of technologies are coming in now. And apart from that, this virtual and augmented reality in pre-construction, this already started in Gulf countries, where your entire building will be fed in a data software. You just wear the 3D VR glasses, and you start visualizing your building when you walk in the campus. So this way you can identify the MEP overlaps, where you can see, my colleagues would have explained to you, where the plumbing lines, HVAC line overlaps and all, you can identify easily. You can, before getting into the construction, you will see virtually all the buildings upfront in front of you. So this also getting into almost like a reality now. And carbon nanotube, this is a micro level technology where they're going for a nanotechnology they're using in all the construction materials. Because when you go nanoparticle, when you're aligning a nanoparticle, definitely you will have much strength and lightweight. So more lightweight, as I said, more you go on lightweight, you have more better structure. So this nanotechnology is also started coming in now. And apart from that, there's the building information modeling, BIM modeling we are doing that. We are started in India already. And construction management, this is all coming on the internet on things. Now all these IoTs are more started integrating into the civil industry, construction industry. And we have started using all kind of technologies available with a lot of sensors we are using. Where MNC clients are coming in like JPMC or JP Morgan Chase or your CTS, TCS, these kind of people, when they are building their own campus, they are inviting a lot of technologies to come in. So these kind of technologies started coming in now, building information, construction management with all construction management with the IoT, there's Internet of Things. It comes with a lot of sensors, lot of technologies now, and intelligent prefab also we started using now. So these technologies are in, I mean, we can have a lengthy discussion on this one also. And last thing is the net zero building. This is becoming a more challenge to the architectural and structural, because all governments have started pushing into the net zero building, which is like a green building. Your building should be self-sustained. You should not be depending on any of the neighboring or any of the natural resources. Your building should be, and all you should be used as a renewable or refurbished material, so that your building will be more eco-friendly. So in structure also, we have started using concrete with the fly ash, which is expelled from the thermal power plants, and we're using GGBS, which is thrown from the steel power plants. All these wastages we are coming in now, we have started using in the construction industry. Normally we have started using now. You can see all these aerated blocks, what I told you, AAC blocks, the blocks are built by fly ash from the thermal power plant. And GGBS we are using in the concrete. In concrete we are using it'll add better strength for the concrete. So these kind of eco-friendly construction materials and construction things should be practiced in the future, because we will be more moving towards the net zero building. And Indian construction industry having a target to achieve a net zero zone. We have seen in 3 of the major building which is done in the Bangalore, which is completely net zero, one in Indiranagar and another on Airport Road. So these are all self-sustained building. They never depend on anything, and they use completely refurbished and more eco-friendly materials. So this is the thing. So thank you all. And any other questions?
Sir, can I got the video, sir? Can I play that, sir?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I think it's not loading, right?
Ma'am, I think you can play the video directly and then share that screen.
Sir, I did that only, sir. It is not visible.
It was visible earlier, but then now it's just a black screen.
Oh, okay, sir. One second. I thought it was playing. Sir, is it playing right now?
No.
No, ma'am, it is not playing now.
Oh. Sir, now?
Yeah, it's playing now. It's playing now.
I think some streaming issues are there. So this is the next level of construction. You can see the staging happening in the above level.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would request the audience to ask any questions, any doubts that they have. You can type it in the public chat, or you can ask sir directly. You can unmute your mic and speak.
I think the subject is too heavy for them, Prakash.
I was
I can
thinking
simply
of that.
see.
Yeah, this is
When I was in RSP Bangalore, I used to interact with Prithvi, and
okay. Okay.
that was in 2004-5, that period.
Okay.
That
Okay.
time itself, Prithvi's knowledge used to puzzle me.
No, that's what even when I started this subject, I was little thinking about that because actually
Absolutely.
speaking, once they come out to the market, they're going to face this only. But now or later, they need to face this. I was thinking that how they're going to understand this.
I know. I'm straight away. I'm able to connect whether it is potential, whether it is Prithvi, design tree. Now moving on to Prakash, it's all the same. But
Yeah.
point is, they're just young children. Okay, just
Yeah.
about second year, third year, fourth year, final year. But the subject knowledge is phenomenal. Simple terms, the knowledge is phenomenal. I can understand that. Maybe Sanil, my HOD, will understand. A few of our other faculties in the names of Vanis and a few others will understand. They will enjoy that. But for the children, this is too heavy for them. That's all I can say. But flawless presentation. I'm able to connect back to Prithvi's time. Potential 2004, 5, 6, or whatever it is. But nevertheless, it was so brilliant. It's so brilliant. I don't have words to thank you, or what do you say, taking your time off on a Sunday and then still be in a position to connect back to our students and compile a wonderful presentation from an architect standpoint. And to start with urbanization, absolutely. To start with urbanization, where you're coming from, why are you definitely building all these tall structures to augment for your extra FSI is available, particularly in states like AP and Hyderabad.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're doing that. I just have a few things to sum up before I leave it on to my HOD or Vani ma'am. I'll anyway put this back on Mr. Reddy also.
Sure.
This, I've been telling everybody, every one of you, whenever you come on this Sunday, taking your time off, I would really love to have you on a offline mode. Just take a maybe 2-3 days time off. I know that it will not permit you, but I will insist. I know what it is to take about 2-3 days off from your. You're there in Bangalore or in Hyderabad?
Bangalore,
Yes?
Bangalore, sir. Bangalore.
Bangalore only. Okay. So the entire core team is sitting in Bangalore, is it?
Yeah. The entire core team is
Okay.
Bangalore. Now, because of more Hyderabad business, almost like equal strength is there in Hyderabad also.
Oh, very good. Great. It'll be an honor. It'll be fun for the faculty system, for the students to have a few select team of design tree and come for about 2-3 days, I had 2-3 days will be asking too much. It'll be too selfish. At least, even if it is a
Definitely
day.
we'll do, sir. Definitely we'll do. 2-3 days is nothing. Definitely on weekend we can catch up. Not an issue.
I'm just putting it like more of a summer vacation for you.
Sure,
Everything will
sure.
be on us. No problem. I'll front end the entire logistics, including the moment you step out of your design your head office, it'll all be on us. I'll receive you. I'll hold you, and preferably have it as like something like a national symposium. If not at a national level, at least I would prefer to do it for a regional symposium.
Sure,
Have some kind of a combined workshop, including all the specialized services which the Scientree is offering, which is what our students of architecture are going to do it, starting with your architecture, structure, services, and BIMs, whatever you want to call it. We can have a workshop, like a national workshop or a regional workshop, handhold all the students. It'll be this knowledge which is being passed on to, I think my entire user clocked about 70. But there are thousands and thousands of students who will be of, where this kind of a presentation will be of immense significance,
Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
I'll talk to you in detail at a later date with Mr. Reddy and the rest of the team who are taking this time off on a Sunday, more than an hour plus, almost close to an hour and a half. I can't have words to thank you enough. Just about one question I have is, when we have this multiple basements, maybe
Yes,
about 5 or 6 basements, you are getting into this dewatering system. No problem. But in the process, you will be disturbing the subsoil drainage pattern or the water table,
Yes, sir.
because you're going to extract it. You're going to dewater it. Will we be doing an injustice to the entire ecosystem, or will the people of the neighborhood be deprived of this water table where somebody says that my water is drained? Is there a balance where we can augment to put that water back, or will the people be deprived of the water table, Prakash?
Sir, actually, the system of dewatering, whatever you speak, once you dewater from your campus, you are leaving it in the stormwater drain. That stormwater drain will again go and connect to the nearby nala or something. Again, you are going to percolate into the same ground only. Only thing is, we are just buying time. That's all. We are not removing the water and we are making that area dry. We are just buying time to do the construction. And I'm just telling you, sir, once your pump stopped for 1 hour, I can, if you want, I can share you some photos also, where the pump just stopped for 1-2 hours. Entire basement again backfilled with water. So the water table, it will never go anywhere. It will be there only. We are just buying time for temporarily for 2 hours, 3 hours, make it dry, do the footing, and keep doing like that. Something like that only we are doing. The water table will never go down, sir, at any cost.
That has been there for a long time now. We take it out, and will there be a balance? Will we be in a position to restore it 100% to its original form? Was my question. Nothing.
Sir, within 1 monsoon, you can restore it 100%, sir.
Oh,
Because
that is
nature
fine.
is so kind for us. With this monsoon, we'll be building the basement. Next monsoon, we'll be seeing the water flooding through retaining wall. Again, we'll go on to firefighting jobs. We'll close the retaining wall. We'll seal the gaps, everything.
Oh, lovely. Prithvi is still around?
Yeah, sir. He is there, sir.
He's there. Oh,
Yeah, yes.
I've always enjoyed my moments of working with Prithvi, but it's been ages since I've last worked. Almost 15, 16 years. But nevertheless, they're fun to listen to your what do you say, speech or a webinar, or the presentation was flawless, very nicely compiled. What is good for a student, architecture student, starting with your urbanization till the latest technology is available, is seriously wonderful. I missed my Sanil. Is Simon around, or Simon is not logged in? Simon is my structural faculty. I was just wondering if he was able to log in or he missed this presentation.
Simon sir is not there, sir.
Yeah, but that is a sad part of this. Okay, you please tell him that, like, I'm a little what do you say, unhappy about that. Okay, because he should cherish this moments of a presentation which is coming from one of the finest people in the industry. Okay, when I say this largest and finest services and structural consultants from Southeast Asia. I mean it. Okay, it is not a joke. It is not a statement per se. It is an inherent quality of design tree. Okay, the single largest building of one of their consultancy cannot even equate to an office, some other office's total consultancy work. One single, what is your largest single building? I think it is some, Reddy was
Mantri
telling me
Pinnacles.
14 crore or something, Prakash.
Sir, Mantri Pinnacles, sir. That is a 46 floor plus 5 floors watchtower, total 51 floors, sir.
What is the total volume like?
Volume, volume of building is around some 1.6 crores, sir. Total we have done maximum. In single building.
1.6 crore is phenomenal, 16 million square foot. Phenomenal, really. So I think the student strength is still less, but that's the way it goes, I'm sorry about it. There is no way where we can help it out, Prakash. I only
No
wish
problem.
that there are about 300 plus students who are available, except for the first year and second year. Would have been lovely for the third year, fourth year, final year and masters guys, to listen to what is happening around. This is a simple presentation or single presentation where you get to know what is happening around today globally. You miss this kind of a presentation, you will only be looking at a portion of a syllabus, a portion of a unit where somebody will be talking about one small unit. But this is so holistic and comprehensive, where it gives you an insight of what is happening around at a global level from start to finish. But I will leave it to the HOD and Vani ma'am to take it up with the departments and the students. But still, corporate was as enjoyable as the way I've enjoyed it about 15 years back. And thank you so much, because that's all I from my side.
Yes.
I leave
Thank
it
you,
to
sir. Thank
Sanil and Vani to wrap it up.
Yeah. Prakash sir, ma'am, I'll do it. Prakash sir, there are a couple of queries. One is from our faculty, Mr. Prabhu. He is saying, in steel buildings, what are the disadvantages of not using the concrete formwork for core areas? Like, what will you say from your own practice?
No, what are the disadvantages of not using concrete? Using the concrete formwork
Basically, using concrete for core areas. What I understand, I think he's probably asking that.
No,
when you're
concrete. In a steel building, what happened? Your
Call Prabhu
stability.
himself, no? Call Prabhu himself.
Yeah, so Prabhu is here.
Yeah, Prabhu, come on the video mode, ask your question directly. Even I'm not able to follow this myself. Prabhu?
Yes, sir. Sir, good morning, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, when you were explaining the high-rise buildings, that too with specific to the steel buildings, you mentioned the core areas alone. We are going for concrete work, right, sir?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Can you say what are the advantages of going for concrete work, especially for the core areas and not steel?
Yeah, that's a very good question actually. See, in steel structure, what happened? That columns what you are building will not have any kind of a seismic behavior. Though it's all weaker columns. See, we cannot have any thicker column more than ISMB 600, what is available in the market, or even built up section also. But when you go for high rise, you build 20 floors, 30 floors, I need a column which should take care of the seismic as well as the wind load. So that big steel column we cannot build. Columns are very small in steel structure. So that is the reason what we'll do, central core, where we have lift cores and toilets, everything, we'll build them in RCC. And that will be done in a slip form. Slip form means, for example, you are building steel structure as a second floor. That slip form means that form will be keep slipping and will be going up to 10th floor also. That's why I've shown you on photograph there. You can see that central core was standing at 10th floor or something, where steel structure is in 3rd floor. So this central core will give more rigidity for me in the with respect to seismic and wind behavior, everything. So we need to have a central core as RCC, and all the steel member will come and connecting in the central core. So your slab will be steel, but your core will be RCC only. This is mainly because your Indian codal condition is like that. In US and everything, we don't find this one because their seismic rates are very less. But in India, because of the varying seismic zone, our code forces us to do some rigid diaphragm core at the center. So that is the reason we are getting that. We cannot avoid that. That is a mandatory as per our IS codes.
Understood, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
And second, I'm saying how effective is Kobiak's lab in India? We hardly find case studies. See, Kobiak's problem is our IS code doesn't permit that because they are giving voided bubbles in the center of the slab and they are doing top and bottom concrete. That Kobiak system is not as per our IS code. See, one thing I would like to tell you, all our structural engineers will follow only IS codes. We cannot do any creativity beyond the codes what is written already, which is already we're carrying in hand. Only thing is approach of code will may different from each consultant. I may be using certain things as advantage from the code and somebody else will be using something else. So obviously code is there. It's like a Bible for us. We need to follow that mandatorily. So this Kobiak system problem is it is not coming under IS codes. Whatever is designed because we need to have a drop panel for taking the maximum punching shear. In Kobiak slab system, we are not getting the drop. It's not allowed to have a drop panel now. So this, because of these issues only, it's not getting. See what happens when you go for massive structure. For example, you're building 20 floors, 30 floors. There will be definitely a peer review guys will be there. Peer review means who is going to double check your designs, which is already done at for that kind of building. So those designs will be checked by IIT Mumbai or IIT Chennai. Those kind of some senior professors will come who will sit with the IS codes and they'll cross-check your design. Those kind of areas, this Kobiaks will fail. So that is the reason the systems are not taken into the, you can consider like a regular market.
So I had another query because you had mentioned about the carbon nanotubes.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to know whether this particular, because we have it in our syllabus, we are talking about contemporary building materials to our 4th year batch. And there is a separate unit on carbon and carbon related or carbon reinforced materials. So in that, when you are talking about this, CNT being a very lightweight material, so is that getting through in India? Is there a IS code or is there any rectifications which is happening because of this new set of materials?
So this carbon nanotube process is purely under research right now. And second thing is it's too costly right now to touch on that subject. Because still the technology for building the carbon nanotubes, that technology what they want to use is very costly at this moment right now. Maybe after 10 years or 20 years, definitely that also will come to a very commercial market. We can explore. But every 4 years now there is a system like we are reviewing the IS codes. There are committee members are there all over India. We are sitting in some particular location. We are reviewing the code and we are upgrading. 2016 we start and the code has been upgraded. Now it become 2018 we really got the revised codes. Same like that tomorrow if this kind of carbon nanomaterials are came into market, then definitely we'll sit for another session. All structural group of structural engineers can definitely take a call and we'll upgrade the code also. But our code is definitely more stringent than anybody else in the world. That is for sure. They will not easily accept anything. We need to undergo so much of research to get into the one line in the code.
Yeah. I know because it was very relatable when you mentioned that many projects are audited by academicians. It automatically ends up on a academician's table when there are large projects, large money involved, and then you have multiple departments involved. You have all the departments and all the professionals which are being checked by a government agency, and the government agency generally is from the academic side. They mostly engage them, and it is obviously it is like a consultancy for them. It's a consultancy for the academicians. So the main concern is that you would be having discussions with these academicians. Do you find that there is a common area in which you and the academician can communicate, or do you find their knowledge level and your knowledge levels are kind of
now yearly? Sorry, 10 years back, to be frank, when we are handling in 2010, 2008, when I'm in potential all those stage, that time it was little different because they are not upgraded to the market standards. We found more difficult that time. But now, recently in past 5 years, 6 years, we are seeing that even IIT professor, IISc professors, all are equipped with the present market trend. They are just kept the book aside and they came into the present field and they have started investigating and approving the things and all. We are finding it more convenient recent days. In past 5 years, you can say.
Because what I found interesting is that you gave a very, very solid, foundation. You actually went like a structural engineer. You actually gave a good foundation of why this particular high rise is one of the major demands of present design. In the architectural forum also, we have our 5th year students, at least 5 to 10 of them are exploring projects which are multi-level, and then they are also struggling with the structural knowledge. So at least this was a very fine input that you even at least gave them an insight for their immediate entry into the practice. If they go for high rises and they want to have an interaction, I think some
all
of
your
the
students, I'm just giving them a glimpse. All your students who are there right now, once they step out of the college, they want to come to Bangalore or Ahmedabad, wherever you want architectural hits. You want to meet, definitely they're going to see on first day, they're going to open and see these kind of subjects only. So I'm just giving them the honor. Once you open any office you enter, any studios, any office you enter, you just open the system, first screensaver will be this kind of high-rise structure will be standing in front of you.
Exactly. That's what I was preferring. Like, you gave a very solid background of why it is required. Why do you need to study high rises, or why do you need to study these type of designs, and how will you interact with them? What can you think? And the other thing is regarding aesthetics, because I was looking at the whole mechanical process. The video was actually showing a very mechanical process, and I was literally wondering, how do we as architects get into this mold and break away from the mold, because you have a very typical standard mold that you're taking, because otherwise it's expenditure. The moment you change the aluminium pattern, then the cost goes up, because from each, and how much can you vary, how much can the architect vary, and it is all based on computers. So your link would be starting off at design, understanding the structures, and understanding the cost. All three has to be linked up. I'm saying that to all the students who are having an interaction with you. I'm hoping the students are able to understand, and many of them are going into internship very soon. Like another 2 months, they'll be in internship. If you come across, I'm very sure Prakash sir would be happy to kind of have a discussion with them, and probably if they can meet you in Bangalore sometime, I think it'll be a very big help. And that's what I'm also looking forward, that you would come to the campus one day and kind of address our students, probably give them a very simple in the class physical discussion, because I'm very sure the moment you reach in campus, there will be a lot of people who will be bringing their design sheets to you, because they're not able to solve their design because of the structures, because how does the column orient itself? How does the
Even now, I can give my mail IDs and phone number. Anybody, if you have any doubts or anything, definitely they can contact me anytime. We can give all kind of support to students. Definitely, they are the future. We are here to help them all the time.
And I'm looking forward to you being in future. Probably you can be also coming to our design juries as a when we have very critical buildings, probably in the 5th year level, probably in the 3rd year level, when we have large projects which are involving a lot of structural drawings. We want the working drawings and the structural drawings to be vetted by a professional. So that, I think, is a very good input that you could have, and I'm very, very thankful that you have taken time today, and very thankful to Dean sir and all the other faculties who have been part of this event, and thankful to all the student participants who have been here, because it's very very informative series of sessions. We are practically adding bones and muscles to a building, and we are just the designers. We have designed the body, but the fact is that we need all the consultants to work with us and get it into convert it into a living living being like thing, because a building also has a life in terms of the occupants, in terms of its users, and that is only what the architect does. He designs and he collaborates. So I'm very happy that you took time out today on Sunday, and I'm very thankful to our organizer, Professor Vani Saundarya, who's organized this event, and thankful to all the participants. And I'm looking forward to, sir, meeting you and meeting all the other design tree professionals. And sometimes in the near future, probably we'll have floating studios where you come in and we have discussions happening in the studios itself with the professionals, with live projects, with the projects that are being carried out in McGinn's. So thank you all, and thank you, sir. Dean sir.
Just a point, Sanil, before we conclude, I'll anyway take this up in the collective forum of Design Tree, but then because Prakash is there. Prakash, just for your information, we have signed a small agreement with IIT Madras. IIT Madras, the center is called CUBE. It is Center for Urbanization and Buildings and Environment.
Okay.
But IIT has got a mix of both. That is academia also particular center is the. Are you online, Mr. Prakash?
Yeah, sir. Listening, sir.
Yeah, okay. The video got disconnected, but this is the only third institution to sign an agreement with IIT. The previous two institutes are, one is my own School of Architecture and Planning, Anna University, Guindy. The other one is Miyasi, the two schools, but they complemented us. It is just about a month since we signed this agreement, and they're very happy with us. But why am I mentioning this? I want to set up a meeting very soon, as soon as Mr. Reddy and your entire team is available because this center is sponsored by Government of Tamil Nadu. Government of Tamil Nadu is the funder and also the the parent body of this CUBE IIT Madras. So any of the government projects can be given to this CUBE, but CUBE doesn't have so much of they still have to outsource, or the strength is very less and it gets delayed. By tying up with an institute or a company like a Design Tree, we can probably fast track or take up a lot more projects in the structural consultancy division or in the services consultancy division or any of the quality audits. Maybe they can increase their bandwidth, all through Tamil Nadu. All of IIT, all of the projects which come into CUBE IIT, Design Tree can be a partner along with Megan's in whatever way. We are not looking at from a commercial standpoint. We are from maybe a research or academic standpoint. Maybe value to us in terms of providing some support in the well. Otherwise, we want to be an engaging partner between IIT CUBE and Design Tree. This my chairman himself said, or sign with a Design Tree. Will also talk a little later, leisurely, when he is recovered, and along with with the professionals like you, probably we should scale up. Otherwise, this CUBE is not scaling up, Prakash.
Okay. Got it, sir. Got it.
You will also be going for your third-party vetting. Why we have to go for a third-party vetting? In fact, Design Tree can become a partner with IIT Madras is my question, my aspiration rather. In all the fields, structures and all the services put together collectively, it can be one monolithic, structure who can partner with the CUBE, and then we start scaling up things. Practice standpoint, from a research standpoint, and also from a financial viability as well.
Definitely, financial things we leave apart, because definitely we are not, because IIT, partnering with IIT is not easiest thing. We are more, Mr. Reddy is more keen on doing that kind of things. Definitely, if opportunity is there, please let us know, sir. We will definitely come forward. We'll come out with all the kind of requirement what is there to do to get partnered with IIT, sir. With your CUBE, what are the things happening?
Well, it'll be lovely, actually. Yeah. We can set up the meeting either at Ooty or at Chennai, or maybe if first condition, we can travel to Bangalore also. Any three things can get. IIT CUBE is in Chennai, we are in Ooty, and you are in Bangalore or Hyderabad or Vijayawada or Kolkata. But I would rather prefer. So it's not a bad idea to come to Bangalore or ask the team to come to Chennai, or maybe like a vacation. You all can come to Ooty also. All is fine with us. Just point to ponder, nothing else.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank
You're just wonderful. I'll just leave it back with Sanil and Vani ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. Sir, I think you can. Your email ID and phone number is already shared with, I think, Professor Vani, so we can communicate with the students the same thing. I'm very thankful that you have taken time out, and Design Tree has taken this particular initiative wonderfully for all of us and for all our students, for all our faculties also to come in and have a discussion. And there's a system in which we are also trying to update this and get this updated and get this to a far wider audience, where they can come in and they can also understand this particular subject. So thank you and thanks to Design Tree for this particular
Thank you, sir.
initiative. And have a
Thank you,
wonderful
sir.
Sunday.
Sure, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
all. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
sir.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Prakash. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Convey my best wishes to Prithvi, everybody at Design Tree.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Definitely, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Vani ma'am, can I log?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Wonderfully coordinated.
Thank you, sir.
How many more are there? 4 more or so?
Sir,
We've
3
done
more, sir.
with no,
Fine, sir.
we've
This is
done
the 5th week, sir. 3 weeks இருக்குங்க, sir.
no, 3 weeks. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Maybe on the concluding session, we'll call the MD also.
Yes,
And
sir.
we'll
Yes,
call our chairman also.
yes,
And
sir. Yes.
maybe have it as a real valid webinar.
Yes, sir. Sure, sir.
Yeah, let me know the okay.
Yes, sir.
Most importantly, because
Sir,
we
it
can.
might fall on 25th July, sir. Last week will be 25th July, sir.
At that time, we'll call IIT also.
Yes, sir.
I'll call the CEO. We'll call our chairman.
Yes, sir.
We'll call our director. We'll call the president of our college. We'll call the chairman and MD of MD and the directors of Design Tree, along with all the people who relentlessly, gave us this webinars week after week. That
Yes,
should be
sir.
the. Keep it in mind, and we'll work on that. Okay.
Yes, sir.
On the
Yes,
validity.
sure, sir. I'll remind you, sir, on 25th also. Before that, I'll remind you, sir.
Thanks, Anil.
Yes. Thank you, sir.